Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Tzakhi. Nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you because, well, first of all, we're at the Meet.Capital Startup Podcast, of course. And I'll just tell our listeners how we met, how we know each other. So we've known each other for a few years now. You were the founder of Witchit, and I was then trying to help you find investors. I wasn't really able to help you back then, but you were able to do an amazing job, move your company to the UK and finally sell it just recently. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're also a super interesting and super talented startup advisor. And I've learned a ton from you. You had that meeting in Tel Aviv in that lecture, and then I was reading your blog on your podcast. So I know you have a lot to say, but maybe I'll let you tell us what you're doing now and a bit about yourself and about your journey.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. You just remind me a piece of history, like a ancient history somewhere with the dinosaurs. It was like, I think we met 12 years ago, something like that, or 11
No,
years
can't
ago
be.
when I just
Can't be. Maybe 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. That was the fundraising, the first round. Yes, you're right. I started with Widget. I think the idea level was 11 years ago, 10 years ago, and 6 months into the project, we won a very big award by the UK government. We were based in Israel back then, and they relocated us to London. Back then, it was I would say, almost a Cinderella story for a young entrepreneur that barely know what is a product market fit and MRR and ARR and all those combination of English letters. Yeah, and we moved here in 2014. I mean, I'm based in London right now for the past decade, uh, and it was a massive journey. We ran a few rounds of fundraising, won multiple international awards since then, and yeah, eventually last year I sold my startup. It wasn't the big exit I was hoping to, but it was a nice closure and to sell your idea, your product, and the IP to a massive corporate, which was it's another challenge by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty amazing.
it was an interesting journey, I would say. Trying to recap everything in a few minutes, it's almost impossible, but I will do my best.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also an amazing experience on a personal level because really you did the whole startup journey, like from the inception to the sale, and in a way, it's a classic startup journey. And also you've had your own level of adventure, which I don't think we need to bring up the whole story, but you had a very unique story going into the UK, and then you had to retract and rebuild. So I remember that distinctly, but I don't think we need to get into all that now. What I want us to talk about, um, uh, one thing that it was, that's how we worked together was around a finder agreement. And that is, I think, a very common way that startups work with advisors and investment bankers. And there's a lot of confusion around it. And I think a lot of startups aren't really sure how to work, how to choose finders. Some may be treated too light-handedly, and others may be make too much and complicate it unnecessarily. So I think that's part of the work that you did. I mean, one of the ways that you raised money for Widget was working with various advisors that helped you and connected you. So is that something that we can go into a little?
Yes. Raising fund is, I will say, the number one challenge for startups. Doesn't matter if they just on the idea level or IPO level. Raising money is raising money. It's the oxygen, the fuel to keep you going. Otherwise, you bankrupt. If you want to grow, of course, I mean, you can always stay with your current MRR, but staying in the same spot eventually will kill you. So yeah, this is I think the most challenging in a startup. For the CEO, I will say the senior management, it's a full-time job. So if you're thinking you can combine both of them together, which means raising money to your startup while you're running your own startup, uh, it's almost, I will say it's almost impossible. It is possible because people are doing it, but once you're starting to do that, you feel the overload. It's 200% of a job, and there is no such thing as 200%. Um, with Widget, I raised a few rounds of money. All of them were from angels. I raised a few millions, not including awards and grants, because on top of the raising money, typically from angels, we won multiple awards, as I mentioned before. One of them is a Innovate UK £250,000 to develop one of our algorithm. It's a year and a half project. It's a grant from the UK government. It was a very successful project. So you have other sources of raising money. But if to concentrate for this conversation on raising money, yes, it's a challenge. Yes, it's a full-time job. And yes, it's a professional by itself. So if you are a young entrepreneur and you want to raise money, you need to understand that if you're trying to build your business, you have the challenges or the day work that you need to build a product, you need to get clients, you need to reach to your the holy grail, which is the product market fit, hire people, build your network, and parallel to all of that, you need to learn and you need to understand that raising money, it's a profession by itself, that you must do it by yourself, and you can take professional people to help you, which are the finders or business developers or people that connected to fund network.
Yeah. So, at Meet.Capital, we talk a lot about cold outreach to investors because what we say is your personal network will run out no matter who you are and very quickly. And then you want to keep talking to investors and keep moving forward. You have to reach out to investors. But of course, a way of growing your network is using other people for their network. And some people do that professionally. What is like for you the number one criteria of choosing a person that will introduce you to other investors? Because you obviously wouldn't want to even have that from anyone, right?
Yes. So it's a valid point. I mean, it's a valid point. It's a valid question, but I think we need to take a step back before we approaching to other people, and I will explain in a minute. If I'm trying to make it pragmatic or
Yeah.
pragmatic as possible. Let's start with the prep. I met a lot of entrepreneurs in the past 8 years. I'm advising and consulting to dozens, I think even hundreds of entrepreneurs and startups with a variety of topic in building a startup. Based obviously my experience and my knowledge, and one of them is raising money. And majority of them, you see they're not ready. So for them, I'm the finder. I'm the one that so-called connect them to funds because I know investors, obviously, or even if I'm trying to connect them to my network, people that can help them instead of myself. But the number one, I will say, failure, they're not ready. And when I'm saying they're not ready, you can see that, yes, they have an email, a kickoff email that they can send it to you and saying, here, we are raising money. This is what we're looking for. Here, we have a pitch deck. But to be ready for an investment, it's more than just a presentation of 10 slides and a nice email. And It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how talented you are, and you can express yourself in front of in an investor meeting. You need to back up everything with a proper due diligence. Your company need to be ready for due diligence, which means once the investor telling you, okay, let's move forward, you can't tell them, oh yeah, let me just prepare the documentation. That's me. We're now working on the business plan. Oh yeah, we have a financial forecast. It's Excel of 2.5 sheets, which is it's an embarrassment. And your financial or your business, the assumptions are very poor. So you really need to first be ready inside. I mean, I can elaborate more than that further in our conversation, but this is the number one criteria to even start to talk with people. Doesn't matter if the investor, and it doesn't matter if it's finders. Now, talking about finders, to answer your question, there are a lot of finders. Basically, every person is a potential finder. Your friends from the army, the person you're meeting in the tube, people that are you connected on LinkedIn, and you don't even need the finders. You have platforms today. I think Gigi Levy has a very nice platform that you can just put your email and they're starting to connect you. And there are other online services that giving you a list. But this is Yellow Pages. Eventually, this is Yellow Pages. So you can do that by yourself. You can use your network, and as you said it correctly, it doesn't matter who you are. Your pool of network is limited. Even the most connected person in the world, eventually he or she are limited. I mean, the number of entities that is connected is obviously bigger than ours as individuals, but still it's limited. So there is a very good chance that me or you will know someone that could be very relevant to them, but they are not connected, even though they are well connected. So you do want to expand your network. I mean, this is the theory network in mathematical discretion. I mean, we studied that, I think, in the first year of uni. Every person that did any mathematical or engineering courses. And the way to do that, and this is something that need to be very careful. Why? Because it can backfire at you. And the reason of that is because the people that you're engaging with, they're representing. So if, for example, you and me know each other for years, right? So I know your quality, I know your network, I know your personality, I know your validation. I can almost guarantee that you will represent me correctly. Where it can backfire you, if I don't know you, and yes, you have a network and you're starting to spread my email and my name and my company name throughout your network, which could be nice. Like, in theory, it could be nice. But imagine that those investors resent you because you're a dodgy person, because you're spamming them. You're one of the people that, every opportunity for you, you're not taking it. I will not say taking it seriously, but you're working on quantity rather than quality. And what you want to find is an investor, finder that work on quality rather than quantity. Because quantity, again, is the Yellow Pages. You don't want to do that. And it's almost like dating. You don't want your name to get to the right people by the wrong people, or not necessarily even with the wrong people, but not with the right people. So you want to make sure that it's the right people along the chain. And the reason of that is because if you get into an investor and they already heard about you, they already got the first impression on you, even though that you never spoke to them. And even, by the way, the finder can do nothing wrong, but the way they represent you wasn't good enough, wasn't perfect. And then when you come into the investor through another party or another channel, or in a month's time, oh yeah, we heard about you. No, I'm not interested. And you have no idea. We have no idea why. So to your question, you need to find the right finder. Now, once you find the right finder, and it's not so hard, by the way, just seeing their resume, you see their connection, you see how they represent themselves. You need to understand few things. It's a temporary. Why it's temporary? Because even the most quality the quality finder, their network is limited, so they will know, I'm just throwing numbers, between 2 to 10 relevant investors to you. They can know a lot of people, that's absolutely fine, but they're relevant to you, to your stage, to your domain, to your personality, to your startup, to your stage. It will be somewhere between 1 to 2. I don't see more than 10. 10 it's a lot. Like, if someone knows 10 relevant investors to you, wow, that's super high. The intro process will take few weeks. Let's say with rolling and follow-ups, 2 months, no more than 3 months. And then that's it. You finished the finder. Basically, you finished the booster. Imagine like it's a video game, and with a car, when we were kids, maybe you
Yeah.
still and along the way you have those barrel of nitrox or booster, and then your
Yeah.
car is like having like a kickoff, and for, but this booster, you always have the extra timer, it's a 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and it's dropping down, right? And then you finish the booster and you are going back to your 100 kilometers per hour, whatever the game gives you. So it's exactly the same with finders. You need to drive very fast and very well along the way by yourself. And from time to time, you will find a good booster, a good finder that will give you a proper kick, and you will be able to boost your speed based on their energy, on how much they bring you to the table. But eventually, it will run out. That's it. It can't help you anymore. It can help you along the way, like in a year time, in 3 years time.
Yeah.
It will drop you like after 6 months. Hey, I just met this person, I think, but that will happen in 6 months time. But their current network, that's it. It's limited for maybe a few weeks, top 3 months, I will say.
Yeah. Jonathan, I want to just pinpoint something you spoke about earlier, that basically anyone can be a finder if they know someone. So can you say something about the difference between how to deal with like a one-off kind of finder? Like, you meet someone in an event and they say, wow, your startup sounds amazing. I know this investor. I'm going to make an introduction. Okay. That's one type of situation. And a different type of situation is business people that kind of do it as on an ongoing basis, either as their main business or as part of their business, to introduce startups and investors. So can you say a bit about how you deal with those two types of finders?
Okay. So my approach, let's take a step back. In the macro level, my approach to investment, it's not one-off. And it's not even to this one or this one. My approach to investment, it's very robust. It's macro level. The moment I'm running a startup, whatever, if I'm one of the founders or running one, it's a lifetime process. It's a marathon with infinity kilometers. Like, the only time this process ends up is when you're selling your company. Until then, this is an ongoing process. From the moment you have the idea, and it doesn't matter what is the stage of the company, this process is running in the background. Like, you will never stop eating or drinking or taking a shower, brushing your teeth. So the operation of your day-to-day life, it's the same goes with the operation of the investment, and I will explain. When I started Widget, you're starting to use your network. And in the beginning, as a young entrepreneur, first time that you start, your network is very limited. Today, when you start in your second, third, fourth startup, your network is already established. It's easier to reach people. Your network is still limited. I mean, it's always be limited. It's never infinity. But the basic one, the first level, the first connection, the second connections are much more stronger and much more quality, I will say. But when I started Widget, I created a program. I built a program on Excel. I mean, everyone can do that by themselves. They can do that more sophisticated or less sophisticated, depends on their level on Excel. But the point is that I created almost a CRM for investment. And the key to this approach, it's not the sophistication of the Excel, and not this. I mean, you can use a lot of other products, CRM, HubSpot, or whatever, any CRM. It's just, the key is not the sophistication of the tool. The key is your OCD level, I will say, of managing it. The more you are OCD, and I will take the OCD as a positive, disturbing personality, you will be surprised. You will get better results, and I will explain. Every person from the beginning that they were even remotely connecting, they have a connection, relation to investment, to money, they're on my list. And then I manage all the list of the people and their status. What is their status? And then I create this, basically the database of your clients, of your network, and each entity, the person or company, it doesn't matter. They also have their tag. Like, are you a finder? Are you an angel? Are you a VC? Are you a company? Are you a strategic investment? Are you a corporate investment? I mean, depends the segment, I will say, the segment. But the most important was the logbook. So I created another sheet in the Excel. Everybody can do that. I mean, again, the weight and the power, it's not about the tool. It's about how you manage it. Every transaction, when I'm saying transaction, it's email, a telephone call, a video, meeting, anything. The moment I have any transaction from me or to me,
I think the word you need is interaction, not transaction.
Interaction. Sorry, interaction. Yeah. You're right. I put it very simple, like almost a army style summary. Half of a sentence, not even as one sentence, not even grammarly correct. Gan, Tzakhi, pitch, 3 million. Which means I had a meeting with you that day. It was a frontalic meeting or video meeting, and I pitched you widget, and we talked about $3 million, $1 or pound, depends. I mean, it's matter. And then, in the beginning, it doesn't make sense, but after 6 months, after 1 year, I started to meet people, and eventually they think, "Oh, I can introduce you this VC or this angel." You will be surprised on their faces when I show them the Excel, and I check, which VC, which person, and I just went to the log and I just filtered the Excel, and you can see all the interactions that I had with them, and you see, oh yeah, you know what? The last interaction was 6 months ago. I met with this person, and they said it's too early. We are now 6 months after. You know what? Yeah, go for it. Give me an introduction. Because now the follow-up, it's a totally different level. It's not you, Tzakhi, my finder, going to them and say, hey, I have this Jonathan with this startup cool widget and they're doing blah, blah, blah. It's, you already met Jonathan 6 months ago. Listen, I met them now. I know you spoke with them. So the whole conversation starts from a different level. This gave me so much power and so much control on the process that, again, you need to the approach to the investment. It's robust. It's not I'm running now a fundraising a round of fundraising for 500,000 or 1 million. It's like a whole war, and every time I'm dealing with a different battle because the battles are moving forward. Some of the battles you lose, some of the battles you win, but you should not manage the battle. You should manage the whole arena, the whole war, and that's, I think, one of the key difference that young entrepreneurs are missing.
Yeah, I think for most people, it's almost, they'll feel it's almost impossible to even take that approach because it's so messy and it's so difficult for them just to manage their, there's so much going on. Like you said, it's, you're working 200% of the time, and I think also a lot of founders also by their just by their nature don't have that kind of orderly type of logging everything and keeping track. But I think I definitely understand the point, which is it definitely can compound over time and definitely bring a lot of value, and by the way, it's also a level of seriousness that shows both the finder and the investor afterwards that you mean business, and the chances of having a having success out of that interaction is obviously much higher when things are managed and when everyone feels that things are taken seriously and their time is respected, and not oh yes, but actually you have the data and you know exactly who you're talking to and where you've met. Yeah, I think one thing that I notice about a lot of finders, there's for me the point about the one-off finder and the multiple finder is that those that do it like on a one-off basis often end up not making the introduction because it's a moment in which they feel excited during the conversation, and afterwards they feel that it's actually too awkward to execute on. Like they don't really feel comfortable reaching out to the investor and making the introduction, and then those actually don't happen.
You mean the finder
The
or
finder
the
doesn't go
entrepreneur?
ahead and doesn't make the introduction, not because they don't believe in it, but because it's just it becomes awkward if it's not something that they're used to do. And if you know an investor, you don't want to bother them, or if you know someone that's a serious business person, you don't want to bother them every time you saw something that you think is exciting and interesting for them. It has to be really a good fit, as opposed to a finder that does it a lot, and then they're more willing to kind of go ahead because that's their style. But then there is the risk that they are doing it too lightheadedly and not representing you in the right way, or that they don't have a good image in the eye of the investor, and therefore when they make the introduction, they're actually damaging you.
But I have to step in. I think there is another problem here. From what you're saying, it's like you're coming to entrepreneur, even young entrepreneur. When they coming to a finder, they're like coming to the doctor, like is above me, is the professional, and help me. And they coming and they asking, okay, please save me, like approach, or do the work for me because I don't know how to do it, or you're the big finder, you know the people, so here prove me and what you can do and bring money to the table, and yeah, I will give you your x percent. And many times they will say, okay, you know what, even add more percentage, like if you're such a big shot and you thinks you can. This is so wrong approach. It's ridiculous because it's contradict the position of the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur, the CEO, the founder, he is the one on top. He is the one that managing. So, and I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to God forbid, demolish anyone, but the finders, they are just the minions along the way.
Right.
They're the boosters. And again, let's go back to the game with the car. If you're getting the booster, you're not dropping your hands from the wheel. And you say, okay, I got the booster. Now I'm like, I'm flying now in the air, and my hands are like, tapped. Okay, you can continue to drive. You're the big. No, the only thing that you got is just a better fuel. It's just a better power. Now it's your responsibility as the founder, as the CEO, as the one is managing this arena, is to manage it. And if you cannot do that on 100 kilometers per hour, you'll never be able to do that in 1,000 kilometers per hour.
Right.
You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose yourself. And one of the things that I met when a lot of entrepreneurs come to me and say, "Okay, give me introduction," and I'm like, "Okay, who do you need? What do you have? Like, are you ready?" And you're having a conversation, and you see they're not ready. And me as I'm not a finder per se, and it's not my job. If I can introduce someone to someone, I will do that happily. But I'm not going to waste my time to work for you or spend my time for you. And you will be surprised. I mean, it sounds weird, but you will be surprised how many times finders would not want to work with you, as you mentioned before, and you have no idea why. And I will give you one example. A few weeks ago, there was this young startup approached me, drop the names right now, and they asked me for an intro. And, we in the beginning, they approached me through a common friend, and they sent me an email in Hebrew. Like, hi, Jonathan, for me, Jonathan, because I'm speaking Hebrew, no problem. To my private email, and, you have an email chain that me and them are communicating to schedule the meeting. And then we're having an intro meeting, like a video, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You don't need more than that. Hi. And I said, you know what? I can introduce you to this guy. I think he can help you. That's not, what you guys are doing. It's less my terrain. I'm not familiar with, but I can introduce you to someone. So for you, as the founder, I just open you another route that you can go with the car and with the booster. Like, I gave you a key. And I said, just send me a kickoff email. And I said, I will assume that you know what is a kickoff email. Because if we open, I know this conversation is not about that, but there is a whole theory about intro, how an intro should look like. And yeah, you'll be surprised how many people fucking up in this level. Like, they don't know how to do this intro dance. I mean, to the level that I'm not joking. I wrote an article, the Torata intro, the theory of intro, how to do this dance, even with a drawing. And I see people sometimes struggling with that, so I'm sending them a link. Hey, read this article, please, before you're sending another email. Anyway, so he sent me an intro in our email chain. Now, it sounds silly, but what do you want me to do? To forward now to a person with all the email chain that you and I spoke, part of it in Hebrew, in your email that you wrote is with the title, Meeting with Jonathan, in Hebrew. Man, this is not professional. So what do you expect me to do? I mean, it sounds lazy, but I'm not going to take now the content of your email, open a new email, do the work for you, put the attach, clean it, put your signature nicely because it's ruined by the forward and the copy and everything. Fix all the font and all the size, right? Put a proper CC you and create everything for you. Well, I'm your PA, I'm your secretary. Man, that's your job. That's not my job. The movie Jerry Maguire, help me to help you, right?
Yeah.
The responsibility is on the founder. You are the general of this war. You are the one who need to manage everything to the micro level. If you cannot do that, don't expect other people to do that. So if a finder, if you're meeting a finder, or by the way, when I'm saying finder, it can be a professional finder, and it can be, as I said before, your friend from the army. So you need to help them. You need to feed them. You need to get to the level that they are your almost your minions, and you need to tell them, not just ask, not tell them, ask them what you're looking for. You need to be as specific as possible, and after that, you need to feed them. Here is the email. Here is the information about us. And off topic, I'm telling you verbally in our meeting, or I'm sending you a parallel meeting, a parallel email that admin. So you and I can continue to talk about the topic, but the topic itself is in a professional intro email kickoff that you can take my professional clean email, forward it to your guy today or next week or a month. It's already there in your email with the proper title, with the proper content, and then the other person, the investor, can reply to you, and we can do this intro dance up to the point that I'm dropping you off because I don't need you anymore. You're the key. Once I'm open the door, I don't need the key anymore. You do want to keep the key all the time because it's like in your house. You're not opening the house and throwing the key to the bin. You want to use that as much as possible. And this is relationship management. And you said before something that most of the entrepreneurs are not organized in that level, and I think it's not true, and I will explain. If we were talking about clients, it's exactly the same. You have the AIDA model: awareness, interest, desire, action, the basic funnel from the 80s of marketing. So if you're my CMO, my chief marketing officer, or you're my marketing manager, and we're talking about clients, you will see all the entrepreneurs, all the founders understand that and relate to that, and they know, and everybody knows, that to get a new client costs much more than retain a current client or even someone that's already interested in your product. So if I'm getting your email as a client on my website because you subscribe, because you put your email or register to my service, because you started a onboarding process and you dropped off because you dropped the basket in the middle, I already got your email. I already got you, right? So my approach to you now will be a totally different. I'm not going to send you now a general marketing ad that's saying, hey, we're this company and we do. They already knew you. They already know you. I'm sorry. So it's exactly the same with investors.
Yeah.
If so, it's easier because the quantity is much less. I mean, with marketing, you're reaching millions, hundreds of millions, right? And you're hoping to get thousands. With investors, you're reaching dozens and you hope to get 1, 2. So it's exactly the same, but instead of quantity, you have the quality. Exactly the same. If I got the attention of an angel or a good finder, I will continue to keep the relationship with them, even if they say no. And that's what I started to say before with the Excel, with the transactions. So what I will do is, even if I had a meeting with you, Tzakhi, you are an angel, and you're saying, listen, I mean, that's not for me. That's not for me, or I'm not really understand in marketing technology or advertising technology, which it was back then. I mean, which it was marketing advertising technology with machine learning. So I met investors along the way that not investing in this domain, which is absolutely fine. But I already have the connection with it. And money brings money. So what I will do is I will create a future interaction with TBD. I will throw a date like to the future, or I will just put a TBD and to be defined. And every month, I mean, if I'm in the process, or not even in the process, even if I don't need the money right now, I will go and I will filter all the TBD, all the future dates. And I will just, like, in marketing, what are you doing? Email marketing, right? To your subscriptions. Hey, Merry Christmas. I mean, now it's
Yes.
we are in mid-December. So all the
Yeah.
companies now, all the e-commerce companies, Merry Christmas. You really want to tell me you care about my Christmas or my Hanukkah? Really? No. The only reason you're sending me with Merry Christmas and giving me like suddenly 20% is because you want to increase your EBITDA at the end of the year and create new sales, because it's the best approach. It's exactly the same. Every quarter, every month, send an email, a nice email, and not a mass email. Not a mass email, because again, quality, not quantity. And go one by one. Hi, Tzakhi, how are you? Just to let you know, we got this contract. I mean, remember 6 months ago? I mean, you're starting a conversation. And by the way, you're not sending a new email. You're taking the last email that you and I
In the same
communicated
thread.
6 months ago, 4 months ago. So the Tzakhi, who forgot about Jonathan and Widget, we had like a 2.5 interactions, and I mean, so-called, you're the investor and I'm the entrepreneur, and we engage with each other, and you forgot about me, so you can see the history instead of me telling you, remember we met 6 months ago and I told you this and you told me that. So I'm just like, in a nonchalant, I will take the last email, I will reply to you and say, hey, just to let you know, we are still, I don't know, on the round. I mean, raising money. Now it's 500,000 and not 200K. Or just saying, remember the contract? We got it.
Yeah.
It's very good, because Tzakhi will say, oh, wow, I totally forgot about you. But you know what? A month ago, I met my friend who is another investor, and he wants now to invest.
Yeah.
So it's you're building a relationship. And in order to do that, it's exactly like marketing, but for investment. And for that, you need the tool. And again, the tool, use Excel, use Airtable, use any platform. The power is not in the technology. The power is in your OCD level to manage this whole war, but in a battle level. And that, I think, this is the right approach for investors, for I'm sorry, not investors, for entrepreneurs. And the angels and the finders, they are just the leads.
Yeah.
You need to manage all of them. So to your question in the beginning, how would I approach this option or this option? The first one, say, it's exactly the same. It's all part of the process. It doesn't matter if I met you one time, and it doesn't matter if you are a finder that I have a contract signed of a finder fee or something like that, which is a topic by itself.
Jonathan, I think if founders take what you're saying and put it into action, have a CRM of all their investors, all their interactions, all the finders that they come along the way, keep the emails of all the people they interact with, follow up with them regularly, and keep and have a vision of a long journey, at least a few years ahead, in which you're able to take advantage of all the people you met along the way because you kept track and you know exactly where they belong in your overall story. Then definitely they'll have a lot of success and a lot more success than they would have without that. Jonathan, this was really, really wonderful. And I have a feeling that we can probably do this again sometime and go deeper on another topic, because I really have so much. And really, personally, I learned a ton from you today and every time we talk. So thank you so much. Where do people find you?
www.jonathangan.com. Very simple. I
Easy.
mean, I started a blog. I started a blog. Actually, it was starting as a I'm doing for the past few years, as I said, as it started as a hobby, and then it's like almost a half professional that I'm advising to startups and entrepreneurs. And very quickly, I found myself repeating a lot of the things that I'm saying. So I just took a lot of the things, for example, how to raise money for in the seed level. And how to work with finders. And for both of them, by the way, I wrote an article, almost like, I'm not an article, it's a guide, like a professional guide. So I put it on my blog, and very quickly, every few months, I'm finding a new topic and I'm putting it there. So you can find me
I'm
on
reading your stuff, and actually a lot of your
jonathangan.com.
articles I read more than once. It's really super useful. I recommend
Thank
it
you.
100%. So
One day I will correct everything. Make a
www.jonathangan.com.
book.
Find Jonathan, reach out. Jonathan, thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye. And
Thank you very much.
bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.